You are listening to the Marc Guzman podcast experience. Welcome to another episode of Ask Marc Anything, and hopefully you're having a lovely Thursday afternoon. It's a great day in my world, and excited to get into these questions here. So let's jump right in.
Alrighty, so we're kind of be looking back on this past year and looking ahead in these set of questions. So the first question is, how did your business grow in your first full year at BCRE?
So first full year, technically not BCRE. That's our sister company for selling real estate, but BG Asset Management, the management company that we started. We started the year with 0 units, and we've done something that you rarely see with property management companies. We were able to build up to 800, I'm sorry, not 800, 489 units or doors, depending on how you refer to it in the management world. So we grew quite a bit, and so next year we expect to probably even double up that number. My goal was 500 units for 2009 or 2018. Just came short of it. Goal for 2019 is 1,000 units. So we'll see if we get there. But 2018 was a good year. We saw like staff. We've now, I think we have like 9 people under our employment right now, including various on-site managers that we have at that literally operate as satellite offices for us. So we've expanded quite a bit. We manage properties from the Bay Area all the way up to Sacramento, and we're starting to possibly expand to we're in talks right now of expanding to Marin County, possibly Modesto, and possibly other areas farther up north than Sacramento. So really excited for 2019 because that's where all this is headed.
It's gonna be a lot more neighborhoods we have to pull guests out of.
Pull guests out of?
Yeah, for expanding to Moran and Modesto, got to start finding guests out there to talk about stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be great. Then, so speaking of, you talk about 1,000 units in 2019. So also looking forward to 2019. What is something you're looking forward to in 2019?
So in 2019, I've got a lot of ideas in my head and different things I want to do. But I think in 2019, I definitely want to build up the company to 1,000 units. That's my goal. My goal is to build up to 4,000 units under management by 2022. And, working all of us as a team, business partners, we're all working really hard to make that happen, to build one of the biggest companies here in the Bay Area. And maybe one day one of the biggest management companies in the nation. But 2019 is going to be very interesting because I think now that we've kind of developed the core departments with our company, now we're going to be able to expand and scale at a much faster pace. And we're starting to reach out into different sectors of real estate. So my business partner Brian is going back into development. So he has several development projects. Now these development projects are not new homes. They're not new commercial buildings that the plan is to sell them off, but basically building apartment units that we as a management company will put together as a package and eventually manage. So we're looking at venturing off into that segment. We're also looking at other types of investment opportunities for clients because we do have a lot of clients that do come to us with a lot of money and they want to buy real estate. One of the biggest problems though is there's not enough real estate to actually buy. So that leaves them to really wonder what they want to do with their money. And so maybe even tapping into a different financial sector, maybe bring something in-house to kind of cater to that. So we have a lot of different ideas for 2019. And I think 2019, we're going to really work on maybe laying the foundation to various different avenues that will provide additional income to the company. So excited for that.
Alrighty, and Then our last question is, are there any new rental laws that tenants should be aware of starting next year?
So yeah, both tenants and landlords need to be aware of a lot of laws that are coming into effect in 2019. In fact, if you go to the California Apartment Association, they have a great database or a list of these laws that kick into effect in 2019. So I'll just run through them really quick here for you. But what, like, every single year, what keeps happening is more and more laws are coming into the state legislature that address rental housing. And so I believe right now there's about approximately 20 different bills that are most likely going to be proposed in 2019, and some of these will go into effect in 2020, 2021, 2022. And so next year, if you don't know, I'm a director with our local and state association. I'm heavily involved in organized real estate, and one of the things that we do is we're on top of many of the laws that are coming into place. And many times we take positions, whether we support something or maybe we stay neutral, maybe we're against something. And so I try to take all this information as to what's coming down the pipeline and try to educate you, the viewers or the listeners, into knowing what's coming down the road, because it's important as residents of California that you know what you're eventually going to vote on or what the people you vote into office will vote on. So, for 2019, there's Senate Bill 721, which is balcony inspection. So if you remember what happened several years ago in city of Berkeley, California, you had a lot of college students partying on a balcony that collapsed and people died. And so that prompted various cities to start passing various ordinances that require balcony inspections. Well, this made it up to the state, and as of January 1st, 2025 is when your first inspection is due and requires to be filed with the state of California. Now, the inspection is going to be required on any balconies or walkways that are elevated above 6 feet. So that's something that, even though you have until 2025 to do on your rental properties, I recommend to start doing that at least 2 years prior, because I have a feeling everyone's going to be scrambling at the very last second, the very last 2 months, November and December, trying to get these inspections done. And it's just no one's going to be able to get it done because there's only so many inspectors and there's a lot of properties. So that's one to watch out for. As of July 1st of 2019, if you have an automatic garage door on any rental property, you're required to have a battery backup installed on it. And that's mainly a safety hazard item, just in case the door gets stuck or there's no electricity, then the door can still open with a battery operated backup. So that's one thing that you want to have installed July 1st of 2019. Uh, let's see here. Collecting the rent, third-party rent payments. So Assembly Bill 2219 was passed, and this basically uh, makes landlords you have it makes landlords responsible for accepting third-party payments. So there's many cases where tenants may not be able to pay the rent for whatever reason. They may decide to have a family member pay their rent, maybe a church, maybe programs like Shelter Inc. that are not necessarily Section 8, but they provide assistance. And there are many landlords that will say no to those type of payments because per their lease agreement, they require for that tenant to make the actual payment, not a third party. Well, this law now prevents you from saying no to these various third parties, like, Shelter Inc., or there's Catholic Charities of the East Bay, for example. So
Well, aside from the lease saying it, why would landlords or property managers turn down those payments? I mean, as long as the rent's getting paid, isn't that the goal?
So that's a good question, and most people think like that. But the problem is, and it's actually good you bring it up. The problem is when you accept a third party payment, they could argue to have legal grounds of occupancy at that property.
Hmm.
So, for example, if let's say John Smith is making payments on your rental at 123 Main Street, Unit A, and then uh, uh, John Smith's cousin, let's say it's Brenda Smith, decides I'm going to pay for his rent. Well, if you accept and cash it, there could be an argument made that she now has tenancy rights at his apartment. um that becomes a whole legal issue that I'm not even going to cover. That's an attorney question, but that's an issue that can happen. And so to address that, uh many landlords decide to simply write in the lease that they will not accept third party payments, and then that avoids the any issue of a third party coming in and trying to claim tenancy rights.
So does this new rule that says that you can't deny those? Is there like a clause in there that stipulates that if you do accept a third party payment, that doesn't give them tenant rights or anything like there?
So
Anything?
no, that's one of the problems with this law is that it doesn't really clarify that. So the apartment association and various other people have come out and said, and even attorneys have said, if you really want to prevent them from claiming uh, third party occupancy rights, what you want to do is have the third party, when you accept payment, have them sign off on a form that states they understand they do not live at the property and they do not have any tenant rights or occupancy rights at that property, that they're simply making a third party payment and you're accepting that third party payment with no other obligation than to cash a check. So, um, I believe the California Apartment Association's come out with a form already. Probably the Apartment Owners Association and various landlord associations have come out with their own forms. And I think if you go to a local attorney that can advise you on the proper form, you can have them draw it up for you. So yeah, that's the one thing that the law did not really address, but you can address it with a simple uh, um, one page sign off form. Uh, Cannabis cultivation. This is Assembly Bill 2164. Under the law, owner will not be held liable and will not face fines if the rental property owner can show all three of the following. A tenant is in possession of the unit where the violation occurred. The owner had no actual knowledge that the tenant was cultivating cannabis. And C, the owner has a lease agreement that prohibits the legal activity. So this came about because you have various cities and county jurisdictions that will go after the property owner and the landlord because the tenant essentially converted the house or a warehouse into a growing operation and did it illegally. And so cities were essentially finding property owners and going after them. And I believe there was one guy out of Oakland that ended up going to jail or doing jail time because he got caught up in with his tenant that ended up converting his warehouses into a growing operation, even though he had no knowledge of it. So this was, I think, a law that came down to really protect the landlord in case of an event where they don't know and specifically prohibit illegal activity. And then there's a few other laws that are coming in 2019 that are not as big as those, uh, but the one final one I do want to end off with, and this is going to affect many evictions because I know a lot of people are not going to really remember this when it kicks in. But this one kicks in October 1st of 2019. Basically, how you count 3-day notices for non-payment of rent completely changes. So historically, let's say you give a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit today. So the tenant hasn't paid, and today's a Thursday. You decide to serve the tenant with a 3-day notice to pay rent today. Well, today's day zero, Friday's day one, Saturday's day two, Sunday is day three. However, because Sunday ends on a weekend, it goes to the next following business day. Now, with the New Year's Eve holiday, that notice, if you served it today, wouldn't expire until January 3rd. Now, what this new law does is it modifies how you actually count those days. Now, instead of being able to count weekends as actual days on the notice, you have to count only business days. So today would be day 0. Business day number 1 would be Friday. Business day number 2 would be next Wednesday, January 2nd. Then day 3 would be January 3rd. So under the new law, this notice would expire next Thursday, essentially a week from today, due to the weekend and holiday.
But if it was on like a standard holiday, you'd have today's day 0, day 1 is Friday, day 2 is Monday, day 3 is Tuesday, right?
Just
On a
just
standard
standard
no holiday weekend. Yeah.
just a standard weekend.
Yeah.
No, but if you have a holiday, let's say on a Monday, that doesn't count. So
Yeah.
it only counts as what they call court days. When the courts are open,
Okay.
those
So
are the
weekdays
days,
essentially.
weekdays, business days, right?
Okay.
And so that's where the things change now. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that want to do their own notices and save $100 or $200 by having an attorney properly do the paperwork. But trust me, pay the money to have an attorney do it, because if you do it, the notice yourself, and you get the dates wrong, you launch an eviction earlier than you should, then what can happen is you get in front of a judge. They notice that the notice was done incorrectly, and guess what? Now the entire eviction is voidable. And I've seen so many evictions thrown out simply because the property owner did their own paperwork and they got it wrong. So it's very important to have a professional really handle the notices for you. And I always recommend having an attorney prepare it, because the attorneys know best, and how the courts operate and what's required. And now with every city passing their own ordinance for just cause or rent control or various different mediations, many people don't know that your 3-day notice must also include verbiage that might be required by, let's say, the city of Richmond. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see in many notices, is that the notices themselves do not include the required verbiage that you as a landlord are required to disclose to the tenant when you're giving these notices. So
All right.
hopefully that answered it. But thank you again for watching another episode of Ask Marc Anything. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Shoot us an email. Make sure to listen to the podcast. You can listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can go to my website, markguzman.com, check out our services, what we can provide for landlord clients and even realtors that have clients that buy investment property. And have a great New Year's. New Year's is coming up just in a few days.
Next Monday.
Yeah, Christmas, holiday, New Year's just comes and goes so fast. So enjoy it, stay safe, and I think tomorrow we have a podcast with
Jennifer
with a
Milovich.
level 3 criminalist.
Yeah,
That's going to be very interesting. Now that episode is not going to air the audio until probably the following week.
Yeah, not until January.
Yeah, so if you want to catch it live, catch it tomorrow. What time is it? It's like 3 p.m.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock Friday. Tomorrow's the 28th, right? Yeah, Friday the 28th, 1 o'clock. You can catch it live on Facebook, and if not, audio will be released the first week of January. So stay safe and enjoy New Year's. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at markguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.